Greetings, citizens, and thanks for tuning in to Nindie Nation. I'm Jeff, and while I thought today would be all about the second half of August, there are so many great games to cover, we're breaking things up just like last time. So hit that like button, subscribe, tell everyone you know about the Nation of Nindie, and let's get started with the 5 neglected Nindies that we missed in episode 210. Beat Buddy Tale of the Guardians is a music, action, puzzle platformer? You fly this little ship around and either dodge enemies or dash into things to the rhythm of upbeat music. It's developed by Threaks out of Germany and originally released for PC and consoles way back in 2013, where it got middle-of-the-road reviews, mostly due to some apparent bugs. However, its score has since risen on Steam, so maybe the bugs were ironed out. If so, and it lands on the Switch in better shape, this $13 Nindie just might be worth your time. If you like to work puzzles with the other half of your brain though, Gooey Yoda,
Why Yoda?
Whatever, could be more up your alley. The latest by Dear Villagers and first release by Team Delusion, loosely based on the legend of St. Brendan's Island. It plays like a top-down adventure where most of your time is spent solving Zelda-like dungeons without the combat. Instead, you utilize fire, light, and lasers to clear puzzles across 2 parallel worlds. Early reviews suggest it's a rewarding experience throughout its few hours runtime, with outstanding design that stumbles just a bit as it crosses the finish line. There's a demo available if you want to check it out for yourself, and until August 23rd, it'll be available with a 10% launch discount for $13.49. Personally though, I'm pretty excited for this next one, and if you have younger kids, you should be too. Establishing their reputation with guns, gore, and cannoli, the German team now known as Rogueside completely flipped the script in early 2020 with their cozy hidden object game, Hidden Through Time. On August 13th, they released their follow-up, Hidden Through Time 2 Discovery, and I'm happy to report it seems even better than the original. These games are basically what you'd get if those garbage hidden object games found on every child's tablet were actually good. The artwork is charming with tons of animations and things to interact with, and in addition to providing 3 worlds based on noir, sci-fi, and the Victorian era, the custom level builder is back, and you can now share your creations or download community favorites online. I am well aware that this game isn't for everyone, but if this kind of relaxing gameplay happens to be up your alley, or you could see yourself playing it with your kids, I think it is absolutely worth $11.99. And more of a quick heads up here that Sam & Max The Devil's Playhouse finally arrived on the eShop August 14th. This is a remaster of the Telltale series that started in 2006 and basically rebooted the series. I say heads up because if you already love point-and-click adventures, you know this series is one of the best, but also because it's the long-overdue final entry in a trilogy which saw its last releases in 2020 and 2021 respectively. They come loaded to the brim with gorgeous artwork and animation, and include a hint system that gradually provides more clues only if you need them, so that anyone can see the story through. Each entry includes 6 episodes, so if you're not desperately waiting to buy the final chapter for $19.99, you can download the first chapter of Sam & Max Save the World or Sam & Max Beyond Time and Space to see first if they happen to click for you. And as one series draws to a close, East Asia Soft is kicking off a brand new series of games referred to as Tiny Pixels. And its first entry dropped on the 14th with Tiny Pixels Volume 1 Ninpo Blast for $4.99. It's a top-down, vertically scrolling shoot-'em-up with 6 bosses and stages that offer multiple weapon types and a permanent upgrade system using currency you gather in every stage. Not a bad first outing for this new series, and I look forward to seeing what they have in store next. See what I mean? The Nindies just keep coming and we're only getting started, so let's keep this train rolling with the 10 notable Nindies coming to the Nintendo Switch eShop through Sunday, August 25th. First up, I want to talk about Arco, because my favorite kind of Nindie is the kind I only learn about while making these videos, then become captivated by the concept. Yet another release by the increasingly busy publisher behind the Playdate and Untitled Goose Game. We'll see more from Panic later, but for now, we're going to talk about Team Arco and their game. It's primarily a tactical strategy game that blends real-time and turn-based combat in a way that I've never seen, but then it has an aspect of choice-driven narrative that lets you pick how each of the game's 4 factions experience the adventure. The Red Corporation is tracking down various indigenous peoples to take their land and livelihood for corporate profit. So you play as one of 4 factions and essentially decide how much of the Red Corporation's shit you're willing to put up with, and how far you'll go to stop them. In battle, Team Arco employs a system they call simultaneous turn-based. You act on turns, with each turn having a movement and an action, which can impact whose move goes and in what order. So if an enemy runs up to you and readies an attack, you know you can react and get out of the way. Or, when surrounded, you can throw a grenade at your feet, then run away before the enemy's turn, and, well, hopefully you get the gist of how it works from watching this. In addition, if your hatred for the Red Corporation starts turning you into a crazy person, you'll actually turn into a crazy person, which then summons ghosts that follow you around in real time during battle, forcing you to stay on your toes and move through the encounter as quickly as possible. So it really changes things up. Outside of battle, you're following a static story with branching paths based on the choices you make, and it acts as one all-encompassing narrative that you can see play out from various angles depending on your faction and choices. Am I explaining this well enough? I think it looks absolutely rad, and I can't wait to check it out. So far, there's only a couple reviews, at least at time of recording, but they're all positive, and I expect to see that continue. If it happens to be now on your radar too, you can pick up Arco with a 10% discount before August 23rd for $17.99. And we all know that indie developers do what Nintendo don't, picking up the slack when Nintendo refuses to make a new entry in a classic series. And we've got the latest new release in that category with Phantom Spark by Icelandic developer Ghosts, which drops on the 15th for $19.99. Carrying the torch originally lit by F-Zero, Phantom Spark is less of a spiritual successor.
If you want to see that, go check out Arrow GPX.
And more of a twist on the formula. Yes, you're driving super fast hover car things in a futuristic setting with charismatic champions whose times you must beat, but this game actually isn't about doing whatever it takes to place first in the race. It's more about meticulously learning each of the 30 tracks and turning each one into your own personal roller coaster. The description spends a lot of time talking about mastering each track. So, in a way, it's similar to F-Zero GX, and I'd imagine this game is going to be pretty demanding as you unlock each vehicle and track. Personally speaking, I'd rather spend my time with loops and boost pads and missile launchers, so I'll be waiting for Arrow GPX sometime in the next year or so. But for those less patient and looking for that fix, Phantom Spark definitely scratches that futuristic, high-speed racing itch.
Which sounds like something you might want to see a doctor for. Just saying.
Then on August 15th, I'm finding it hard to not recommend a game that describes itself as offering both adorable chaos and, poop modes. Frankly, I can't wait to laugh my ass off when my kids and I get our hands on Just Crow Things. After finding niche success with Rain on Your Parade, a game where you play as a rain cloud and solve environmental puzzles by creatively ruining people's days, Unbound Creations seems to have gone back to the drawing board to figure out how they can expand that gameplay style while also broadening its appeal. And as far as I know, everyone loves animals, everyone loves causing chaos,
Or adorable chaos.
and let's be real here, poop is funny, it don't matter who you are. Just Crow Things is structured around a series of tasks to accomplish across 10 levels, with each level being an open-ended sandbox such as a bustling New York City or ancient Egypt. Some tasks require you to work out a puzzle like we saw in Untitled Goose Game, and some will play out as skill, timing, or platforming challenges. But most, if not all, of your activities in Just Crow Things are all about dumb antics as a little crow causing chaos.
Adorable chaos.
You have a crowputation, which essentially acts as the game's scoring system, and the game rewards your approach to causing said
adorable chaos
by granting you access to new tools or even food, which is what enables the aforementioned poop modes. As they've already proven in their last release, Unbound Creations knows how to make a fun game that makes anyone in the room want to try while keeping everyone else in the room entertained. Just Crow Things releases with a $20 price tag, and I think the added structure and variety should justify the price by adding long-term replay value for those of you who may not live in a household that will never grow tired of slapstick humor and poop jokes.
Feel sorry for you guys.
But that's not the only game on August 15th where you'll fly around on a bird and poop on things. No. Hojo Studios, a mobile developer from Australia, is releasing their first console game when The Godfeather, a Mafia pigeon saga, releases for $8.99. A decidedly simpler premise, you play as a pigeon who has just been ordered by the pigeon mafia boss to take back the streets, and you do so by, well, pooping and dive bombing things. You fly around open areas, scavenging dumpsters, avoiding the pigeon police, and ultimately tracking down your target through a roguelike approach that lets you visit shops to buy upgrades whenever you didn't turn out to be pigeon enough for the job. I'm definitely picking up Just Crow Things first, and will wait to see if the seemingly simple approach attracts any critical acclaim, but come on. Did you expect me to not cover back-to-back releases all about birds that poop? And you know, I don't play many tabletop games, but I certainly appreciate a good video game adaptation since it can streamline the rules and the overall game flow. In fact, sometimes playing a digital tabletop game actually teaches me enough to make me want to go try the analog version. I'm thinking that might be the case here with Overboss, because the premise looks pretty fun. It's all about placing tiles on a grid where the terrain and tile type matches up against one of the 12 bosses you battle for territory. It kind of feels like a tabletop version of Into the Breach or something, and the pixel art from Tarvox Games is very charming to boot. It's published by Forever Entertainment and releases for $14.99, but now I gotta ask, what do you think the best digital tabletop game is? Is there one out there that shouldn't be missed? Tell me down in the comments, I'm genuinely curious. And with a feature list including a bullet just for, quote, keep the streets clean by picking up trash, how could I not be excited for Nami Lane? Okay, I'm just kidding, y'all, calm down. Besides, this game has insanely positive reviews on Steam. Like, one of the highest I've ever seen. Really. With so many hardcore, never-ending, and punishing games out there, cozy little titles that only ask for 2 to 4 hours of your time, in my opinion, are always welcome. Taking place in a Japan-inspired city street, Nami Lane is a chilled-out city management sim loaded to the brim with adorable art and tons of charm. Built in 6 months by a couple who go by Tiny Duke Games, your goal is to keep your street's inhabitants as happy as possible. That means picking the location of each little shop, deciding what goes where, and adjusting your business practices to fit the quests presented by the people who visit. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but a $5 price tag with overwhelmingly positive reviews across the board suggests it is clearly the tea of choice for many. And another game with a cozy slant that's getting a lot of positive attention recently is Magical Delicacy, the first commercially released game by solo German developer Stephen Colley. It's a Metroidvania platformer of sorts, but instead of facing down nasty underworld monsters to earn your next platforming ability, you play as a witch chef whose goal is to delight the residents living in a new, unfamiliar town she now calls home. You search the city, talk to people, gather ingredients based on your available moveset, earn new abilities that let you travel further and find new ingredients which can pair with new magical abilities, and yeah, sounds clever and pretty unique. Some reviews suggest the game takes a little patience to get used to and that they could have maybe used a bit more guidance right out of the gate, but almost every review I found said that the game crafted a world that they never wanted to leave. And while it never really got challenging, uncovering new recipes and completing requests from the townsfolk still delivered a palpable sense of satisfaction. There's also a ton of praise for the game's presentation and overall vibe, which I can definitely understand. I mean, just look at it. Magical Delicacy hits a lot of the same notes that Spiritfarer did back in 2020 with its cozy blend of genres, and I suspect it has Hidden Gem written all over it. So keep an eye out for it on Thursday, August 15th, when it releases by way of Whitethorn Digital for $24.99. Then we've got 3 games to round out the week on Friday the 16th, all of which I am very hyped for. At first glance, Mute Crimson DX looked like another 3-color retro precision platformer. But then I watched the trailer. This game looks all kinds of badass. Monsters have attacked the city, and now you're a pissed-off ninja that races through 9 action-packed worlds full of traps, platforming, and enemies that appear to all die in one hit, but all still explode into a fountain of pixelated blood. The soundtrack's great too. I mean, listen to this. It's got a Mega Man vibe, but it's obviously inspired by Ninja Gaiden. Iced Lizard Games originally released Mute Crimson on PC in 2015, and it was very positively received. But even more than the visual update in DX, what I appreciate most is the difficulty mode that gives you a rewind feature similar to what you'd see in Nintendo Switch Online's Virtual Console. So the DX version has a lot more than just a visual update. I don't know, y'all. Something inside me got all kinds of fired up when I watched the trailer for this game, and knowing I can play on the standard difficulty but still get through it without too much frustration thanks to the rewind, I think I'm going to be picking this one up. If you're interested in picking it up as well, it's available now for $14.99. And then one of the easiest games to recommend to anyone just got even easier because the trilogy of Dadish games received a glow-up and are now bundled together in Thomas K. Young's Dadish collection for a perfectly reasonable price of $14.99. What's even cooler is that Dadish 1 and 2 have been entirely remade using the engine of Dadish 3, so the games will now include some more quality of life features, smoother performance, and a consistent visual style across the collection. These are fun, charming platformers that have a great balance of puzzles, action, and platforming mixed in with a hilariously adorable story about a dad who somehow lost all of his children. If you want to try the game before shelling out $15, the first Dadish is regularly on sale for $2, but I think just about anyone will feel like the collection was well worth the money. Last up this week is a game I have been dying to talk about. After releasing his excellent cinematic platformer Lunark last year, Johan Vinay set out to build his next game without the same several-year-long development cycle. That meant he had to completely rethink the type of game he wanted to make, and what he settled on is the short and charming Castaway, which is clearly inspired by Zelda, and even more specifically, the entries on Game Boy Color. By the way, anyone notice how many games are currently in development with that same reference in mind? Mina the Hollower being the most notable example, but there's quite a few more out there. Anyways, beyond the smaller scope, he also wanted to make a game that was replayable in multiple ways and could appeal to anyone in the family. The star of Castaway is Martin, whose spaceship crashes on an uncharted island right before his beloved doggo is captured by monsters. You'll explore the island to find your gear and venture into 3 dungeons that appear just about as traditional as it gets for a Zelda-style dungeon. The whole game is only going to take you a couple hours, likely no more than 3, but that's where the clever replayability comes in. First, there are difficulty modes meant to remove fail states for younger players, all the way to a, quote, unfair mode, but then there's also a speedrun mode, and the one that I think is most interesting, Survivor mode, which is a 50-floor tower with increasingly difficult challenge rooms. Castaway is only $7.99 and seems to have something for anyone who would consider a game in this genre. Not only does it have a unique slant on replayability, it also acts as a test for other indie developers who are wondering, can a shorter game be developed in just over a year, sell for less than $10, and still be considered a success? I think so, and I plan on doing my part to help. Lots of cool stuff this week, so much so that I had to break this episode in half, which I guess means the indie train is back and rolling full steam ahead. I'm gonna say my personal picks are Arco for its unique blend of genres, Just Crow Things because poop, and Castaway, which we just discussed. But what about you? Sound off down in the comments, and when you're done there, head on over to our Discord and hang out for a bit. Y'all, there is still so much more to come in August. We can finally talk about Valfaris Mechatherian, one of my favorite PC indies on its way to the Switch. Mangavania is getting a sequel, which looks to improve in all the right places. I'm cautiously optimistic for the Contra-like Cyber Mission, and there's even Rack and Slay, which, dare I say, might be a new type of roguelike? Billiards trifecta, huh? Think it'll be any good? Guess we'll have to find out next week, citizens, because we're all out of time for today. Thanks so much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing Nindie Nation with others. Until next week, I'm Jeff. This has been Nindie Nation episode 211. And remember, no matter what type of game you're looking for, Nindie Nation will be right here to help you find just the thing to keep your Joy-Cons synced.